Sweat Equity podcast and streaming show. Woo! Coming to you from Sky Strategic Marketing's office. You need PR help in the Tampa Bay area, hit up Sky Strategic. I'm your host, Lost Smith. Sitting here with me is Eric Reginger.
I'm here.
We are the girthiest, number one business comedy podcast out there. I don't know anybody who does it better with pragmatic entrepreneurial advice, with dick jokes, veinier, girthier.
I love the qualifier.
Getting in deeper, hitting those.
Veiny.
I want to say IUD, but it's what is the thing?
Well, I don't know. Well, it depends.
Not an no. What's the thing?
Improvised uterine device.
Yes.
It's not what it is.
What is it? An IUD?
An IUD goes in a woman.
Yes.
An IED.
Yeah, but you're
is
so
in
girthy.
Afghanistan.
Girthy and long. You're hitting it. That's what I'm saying.
Ah.
That's how deep we go. Hey, look, sometimes that's why we do a podcast, because it takes a long time to get there. We're on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Laughable, YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo. This episode is brought to you, as always, by Grasshopper. Try grasshopper.com/sweat, like Keith Sweat. Get it real grooving. Get it real R&B with you. Try grasshopper.com/sweat for your business phone line, for your hustle, for that side job, for the startup you're doing. You get $50 off, and we get the hookup. Holla if you hear me. With trygrasshopper.com/sweat is the only way to get it. And if you click the link, it might tell you, hey, this isn't a secure site. It is. It's just the referral code.
It's just joking around.
You just got to plow through that. FreshBooks. Go freshbooks.com/sweat. Your taxes may have been delayed, having to do them, the business taxes, your personal taxes. A lot of you do the stimulus check for yourself, but a lot of you haven't. You need to get your accounting going. Go freshbooks.com/sweat. Like Keith Sweat. Go freshbooks.com/sweat. Gets you the hookup. $150 off your annual subscription to that. Ooh, baby. But you also get a discount if you do a monthly. Go freshbooks.com/sweat. F QuickBooks, F0. Yeah, they don't put that in the copy. I just did that. Warby Parker, warbyparkertrial.com/sweat to get 5 free pairs to try on at your home. You could even
your car.
Your car, if you live in your car, that's fine too. You can type in your prescription for your sunglasses, for your eyeglass wear, but you can also do it by the shape of your head. You can pick out 5. You try them on your home car, your RV. You live in a van down by the river, whatever it is. You can try on 5 pairs and then go, hey, do I look like an asshole? And then if you're 0 for 5 on all of them,
You're an asshole.
You're an asshole, but you can get 5 more. So, warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. That's warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. I can't believe how many people have told me they bought eyeglasswear that have listened to this podcast, that I know listen to this podcast. They still go to LensCrafters, gets ripped off over the big corporate stuff. warbyparkertrial.com/sweat. Let's get this show started. Howdy toddy.
What about my
God
sweat
almighty.
equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?
Feeling good?
Feel great.
You feel...
So good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
A lot of Keith Sweat. That was like 3 Keith Sweat references.
I forgot to use that. I need to get in frame, I think. I forgot to use that.
Frame. Don't worry about the little one.
Oh,
Worry
no,
about the big one.
Okay, because I need to be
time.
6 feet away from you at all times. Anyway, that was a rule before COVID.
Too late.
But, yeah, and I was late getting here because there's a Hillsborough County. One thing people can do before we bring our guest in, one thing people can look up is there's a lot of private funds going out there, like LISC. I know that like Verizon and a couple other companies, or they get together, they're doing that. Goldman Sachs has a grant out there for small businesses. We said this previously, look out for your county or your city that's giving, they're giving out grant money as well for those who need it. And a lot of it is business related, you know?
Yeah, I hope so.
The deal is what you should really do is do a Google alert for your county and your city, because to my understanding, the people who are getting these are like they're on top of it. They're the first people in.
Yeah, sucks.
So
Sucks that you got to be the paperwork nerd to get it in.
it's not even that. It's like you could be a Leslie Knope, detailed or pick flick from election. You could be super organized, detailed paperwork ready to go. But if you don't know about it first, you're probably not getting it.
Yeah.
And so
Obviously, yes.
we're in Hillsborough County, which has the city of Tampa in it. So it's I set up a Google alert, saw that come up, hit it up yesterday, and then I submitted it, and then you're allowed to go back and edit what you sent.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to make sure I got it in there, and then I came back.
Good strategy.
morning, yeah.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because you don't want to be a perfectionist with this stuff, because you're probably going to get something wrong anyway.
Yes, every time.
And so if you have the ability to come back, and hey, shout out to our Hillsborough County website and City of Tampa website that they actually have they used a jot form. They did what we would have done.
Yeah.
Everybody's frustrated by unemployment submissions and like, cause it loops around.
Yeah.
Like if you do your resume, you're going for a job online where, the biggest frustrating thing is you upload
your resume and then type it out again.
Type the whole thing out in a
Redo
form.
it.
Right. So what the deal is they did a really good job where every state federal thing I've heard has been horrible.
Yeah. The state is.
And you've done some of those.
The unemployment, it's like it loops back around on just the first thing you checked, the checkbox. I agree, blah, blah, blah. And then you put all the information in and it just pops back around. It's like 1.3 million people in Florida filed for unemployment, and like 80,000 have got it or something.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, things are going good.
Let's bring in our guest who is here via Zoom because we play by the rules.
Mm-hmm.
We're essential over here, but we don't know about our guests. They could have cooties. So Joshua Kennedy of Imagine Marketing, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing good, buddy.
Yeah.
So we let's give a little. I'll give a little context of how we got you on as a guest in a little bit of a different way. About a month ago, I was helping you, just giving you a pair of eyes on what you're doing over at Imagine Marketing. And then we were going to do a follow-up. And I was like, why don't we just have you come on the podcast as a guest? It'll help promote your firm that, started in January. And plus, I feel like anytime I'm doing some of those, like, help a friend out, kind of give them a pair of eyes stuff, it's like, I'm like, I wish I had this recorded on the podcast kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
Because there's always good stuff, but I'll never double back and try to, like, we've had it where we fucked up.
Can you say all that again?
Yeah, we fucked up recordings and had to do it again, and we tried to do the same joke that was funny.
I don't.
I do.
All fresh here, baby.
Yeah, and it never comes off as authentic or genuine, So, and I'm trying to bring up your bio, but I am sloppy. But tell us about yourself. Why don't you do your own plug and little bio?
Yeah, quickly. So local, was a USF grad, kind of didn't do marketing or anything for an undergrad, but within a year found myself working in digital marketing in St. Petersburg. Then quickly after, working for another company in the Tampa area in e-commerce, started an affiliate program with them that was really successful, kind of got my feet wet and just kind of learned as I went with that. And then after a couple of years of doing that, decided to just to go off and do my own thing. So the past year has been, trying to, build the website, get the big business established, start doing the networking, sort of, figuring out all the things as I go. So that's kind of the period I'm in. Thankfully, I've got some momentum and some clients and everything. So kind of past that initial push and things are looking good.
So last we talked about Imagine and what you're doing. It's a little bit avant-garde of the agency model. Mm-hmm. But I said, and it's something we say on the podcast a good amount, about getting your branding, getting the vision, the mission, all that stuff down. Did you go to the woods and for a couple of days eat mushrooms and figure out what you are, who you are, why you're better?
Yeah, I was one of the only ones in the Hillsborough parks, thankfully. And yeah, actually, absolutely. I think trying to get down to the stripping away all the, I guess, extraneous extra information, and also using input from, people that I trust as far as like, hearing you out. There's another gentleman that owns an agency, is connected, just went through my, with my dad through business, that he gave me kind of a lot of insight, and suggestions as far as the branding goes. And I think for me too, is that I was sort of like you said on the initial interface or communication with my website, is I wanted to clearly articulate what we did, and then how we're of service or benefit to potentially the customers that are our website visitors. And I think now, compared to when we last spoke on the spoke is probably definitely better, and made some improvements. So for sure, I think it got down to the fundamentals.
Yeah, websites are still. I see a lot of people still making big guffaws as far as their messaging, their identity, and trying to get that through, because they don't have the empathy of the audience they're trying to target.
Yeah, or it's very convoluted. It's not clear. It's like very
The aforementioned government sites.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, what are you trying to say to me? That you're visionary, and you can create a feeling, and what else?
Yeah.
And it's just you got to be more poignant.
Yeah, and it also not as crazy sometimes, but just the UX UI. You especially where you're promoting the service that they're sitting on.
Right.
If you're an agency,
Yeah.
like, you have to kind of be better than the best if you think about it that way. But like, one thing I saw that made it simple for me, and this could be your website, or this can be your retail business or coffee shop or whatever it is, whatever kind of small business you have, is for your brand messaging, they just put a Venn diagram on a chalkboard. It says, what you want, and then what they want, meaning your audience. And then in the middle was the website. And I was going to try to make that into a penis Venn diagram.
Yeah. Well, like a
Because
vagina in the middle. Right?
Well, no, you have a Venn diagram, like two boobs that are squished together, right? And then you have, how we do the homepage layout of
Right.
websites.
Yeah.
You put that right in the middle. It's a big dick symbol.
Okay.
We're on brand.
All right.
That's our brand for this show.
Well, we've got a theory that all logos are either dicks or vaginas.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen your logo, but I don't think we've found one that's not.
Yeah.
Have we?
It's a very Rorschach test of how we look at stuff. Either way. But so the other thing that you mentioned is you listened to advice and actually took it in, which
What?
I can't get over enough that, like, none of us are 100% good at that, right? Like, it's definitely and especially I think like Americans in that kind of spirit of entrepreneurism is like, you have to think better,
Right.
in a way, but you have to know what you don't know. Is kind of a big way to kind of fashion that philosophy out. Like, I know about SEO, but I'm not the expert in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody's telling me some tips, and that's going to save me time, especially on something, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I got it. Look, my
Even
focus
if you
is
consider yourself an expert.
yeah, my focus is in advertising, and I'll let people tell me stuff, and I'll just let them go. And then more than not, I'll find out something that I didn't know.
Maybe get a little nugget.
Yeah, a little nugget. So I think that's good that you're sourcing people around you. I did the same thing when I started my agency, and I called my old professor. I talked to my boss the job I just left, and I left on good terms, and I keep those relationships going, and I try to call them every now and again, going, "Hey, I was going through this. What do you think?"
Yeah.
And they're happy to answer the question, which is surprising.
Yeah.
Right? They're never like, "Fuck, man, you're calling me all the time."
No, people like to be patronized. Well, I want to know some of the advice you got, Josh. Did you get any good stuff to share with us?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm doing, so I'm looking a lot into the negotiation, because as an entrepreneur right now, sole proprietor. I don't have a lot of funding, or like I've got a couple of people on my team that help me out, thankfully. But I'm looking into one of the things is just from the sales point of view, is figuring out people's objections and then being able to tailor my sales pitch or kind of figure out where their objections are. Because from my perspective, like we really are offering a software and a service at no cost and to the client, unless we get, or unless they get paid essentially to acquire customers. So it's one of those things that's like, I see that as no risk, but not everybody still bites on that. So how do I communicate that to them where they're not almost in disbelief that we're offering value for free essentially?
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, I worked for Snap-on Tools, and their sales training was great. Like they had a flow chart where they had every objection, and if they said yes or no, boop, and then you go this way. Can I tell you why you might need this, or why you should want this, or why, like every objection was mapped out, and it was like, dude, this is like, if you learn this, it was tools, but it could be anything, really.
It's contingency planning, really. If you think about it in an ops perspective, right? You're going, all right, let's create a sample decision tree, right? I'm going to show them this. They're going to resist. So here's where I go from there.
Right.
Right. It's a little bit tougher because there's a lot of variables with the way you're talking to people, because I've been there. Eric has too. And so it's like, it might not be, because part of this is educating the client, right? What's tough about anything in the digital services is that it's like people tell me they have a good sense of humor. or their taste in music is the best.
I enjoy humor. I really enjoy humor.
I really have a good sense of humor. I just thought what you said was offensive. And I go, I don't think you
I don't think I get it.
So like, I'm not going to educate them on comedy right there, because to me it doesn't matter. I don't really care if they think I'm funny or not after that point. But for this, it's like, I tried to qualify how much they actually know about this world.
Right.
Yeah. Because tools are a little bit more implicitly understood, right?
Sure. You're selling to people that work with them.
And the hard thing with this is people, it's like kind of like they're what they think the economy should do. Like everybody's in it, so they feel like they know it, but they don't really know it that well. At the end of the day, though, I always focused on ROI, right? So what I would do is always ask, what are your all's objectives? But knowing that overall, if we're not providing ROI at the end of the day, that nothing we're doing matters. And so my default kind of improv go-to kind of foundation was like, well, this is a small thing, part of a bigger tactic that is helping integrated, leveraging the other tactics we're doing to get you ROI. So this is one little piece to get you to here. The only thing you can really do is case studies. And those are tough too, because what business owner or GM of a football or baseball team doesn't want someone who's already done it?
Yeah.
Like, I love the NFL draft because it is a measure of overvalue, undervalue.
Yeah.
And what's our needs versus impulsive decision making. Like the Raiders having 400 wide receivers now. Drafted 3 receivers, and they have Nelson Aguilar. They got free agency.
Who has like 10 tight ends? The Bears or the Eagles?
There's something like that.
They got like literally 10 tight ends.
And so that to me is like ultimate kind of impulsive. We'll figure it out later. Whereas, you want a proven commodity if you can. So for any business owner you're talking to, or maybe an agency that's subbing from you, you want to have these or subbing you out. You want stuff ready to go in every kind of sector. So here's how I did ROI with this industry, and here's how I did ROI with this. The hard part is on your website, you can't give up everything.
Oh, yeah.
And so you need what I call the law firm website branding issue. You need to be simple and detailed at the same time. And so I would say find a case study, break it down to its very basic points. And if they want the details of it, they want to know more, make a like a paywall of sorts, or not a paywall, but like a access wall.
Yeah. Give me your email and I'll
Right,
tell you.
right. I'll give you like request, and then you'll know if they actually went to the page too.
Yeah, it's true.
Been thinking about this for a while, so that would be my advice on that. It sucks. It's not easy to get all that stuff prepared for future future stuff in the future, or I mean future proposals, but and then you brought negotiating. I didn't know if you're talking about with just cash wise, but there's a book called Never Split the Difference that a lot of my friends have suggested I check out, because it's not my strong suit at the beginning of running an agency, but at the end of it, I had enough stats to know, like, here's our dollar per hour. I know our competitors, what they charge if we go 1-to-1 on services, and then I know what my cost rate versus my bill rate is. And so that's a good book. It tells people, like, instead of going, they go, well, I need to get this quote down from $25,000 to $20,000, and they'll just, like, a lot of people just say, we don't have the budget for that. And so you go, well, what is your budget? They'll go $20,000, and you go, all right, how are we going to get you from 20 to 25,000? That's how I would say it back to them.
Back up.
And you ask it with a how. How am I going to get you? How can we work on this to get you to here? Instead of going, okay, well, we'll cut this and we'll cut that.
Yeah.
Because then you've already just discounted yourself.
Yeah.
And that comes back to you at the end of the contract, because they're going to think.
Because you're going to end up doing all the shit anyways.
Right, but you're cutting your own value out. You're cutting your own legs, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because what you're presenting is you're going, we need to do all these things, and then they're coming back. And I had to tell people after a while, it's not an itemized list that you can just kill.
Right.
I'm just showing you all the work going into it.
Yeah. So, Josh, I want to hear about what you're doing that's that you consider unique, and the software and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we use a pretty modern, recent software. It's not it's not our software, but we have the license to it. Company came out in 2018. So it's probably the most recent, and right now they're basically trying to get market share. So there's some other competitors that have been around for a long time, but these guys are kind of the new guys on the block. And sort of what I think that we're unique in is sort of a lot of people, I say we're kind of a hybrid between like the network and software side, which is like a share a sale or some of these big affiliate networks, which will basically integrate really quickly with your website, and you do all the work for them. And then these people that are the outsourced program managers, which are just account managers and run campaigns and recruit affiliates and all that kind of stuff. So I see it's this kind of a hybrid between those two things, where we have the software, but we're also feel like we excel in offering the services during the recruiting and campaigns and all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, we would be like I said, we're only performance based, and we do off complete revenue share. So we don't charge clients flat fees for services. We don't charge monthly retainers. There's no 6-month or 12-month contracts, anything like that.
Yeah, and so why that's a big deal is it reminds me of when I worked at Dimensional Fund Advisors. They were a mutual fund company that did flat rate for buying their funds, whereas everybody else's commission rate. And the big difference in that world was that all those Wall Street guys, even if you lost, they made money,
Yeah.
And so they wanted you to trade more because that's the incentive.
Buy, sell, do it again.
Whereas Dimensional set themselves apart by having the best funds, because they really worked at it. Like we had like rocket scientists and stuff that we pulled in as employees and whatnot. Oh yeah.
Is that helpful?
I mean,
you guys launch satellites? What were you doing with that?
Let's just say the owner of that company is the namesake.
Is out of this world.
The namesake for maybe the best business school, the Chicago School of Business, is the David Booth School of Business. He also basically owns Kansas basketball. So yeah, he did all right.
The nonprofit university.
Like you couldn't. Yeah, but you know how it is. There's always one booster that like T. Boone Pickens basically owns.
Right.
Oklahoma State,
whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where he owns the James Naismith's rules of basketball. Like,
What, like the original book?
like the original parchment or whatever it is. Yeah. So I'm just saying you couldn't buy the only way you could buy these funds directly were you had 20 million in them. Like Brendan Fraser walked through our office like, what?
Huh?
And it's like, he's got that mummy money, I guess.
Mummy money.
And I guess Schwarzenegger rolled through our office and I missed him that day. But.
What?
Yeah, but this is the only time you could those are the only people that would buy directly. You had to go through CFP, blah, 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 blah. But the biggest shift they did was, hey, we're going to be honest. We should be paid flat instead of trying to make money off commissions and trades and everything. And, it worked out for them. And I kind of see you in the same respect where there's a lot of people that'll do advertising and they charge a 30 to 50% markup on the ad spend. Oof. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
If you've really done online advertising, because you need a minimum, and then it doesn't really matter unless you're kind of toggling the budgets all the time, but it doesn't really matter that much what the client spends in ad spend once you're over that minimum.
Yeah. And like, it's not going to incentivize them to spend more, say that it would help them.
Right.
And taking a chunk off of it.
And I think by
hurting your performance.
Again, yeah, I feel like because they don't read that ROI, they read it as the total number going out from their building, right?
Right. I paid this much.
But the way it's reported is never reported that way.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was kind of not disingenuous or dishonest. It's just, I think it's just a bad way of doing business that it's such a young service industry that, you have to find out what works and always kind of work on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sucks.
So I
told
JK here. Yeah. JK. Mm-hmm. I told him to hit us with any questions to help him out.
Okay.
With his stuff. So
Josh has been taking diligent notes. I've seen.
Yeah. Now I'm coming through all my questions here. Maybe maybe like the 12 months, so forecasting for the 12 months. I know that everyone's going to come from a different place, but sort of maybe where your emphasis is in the first 6 to 12 months of your business and kind of how you should see it mature.
Growth is what I would emphasize.
What I guess go with your goals, right? So if you're looking at 12 months, what do you want? What do you want to accomplish in 12 months, and then reverse engineer from there. So I'd like to get on a whiteboard and I would put 12 months on the right side and here we are on the left side, all the way on the left. And I would just go.
After drawing a dick.
Well, the whole thing's a dick, really. It's a motif at the end of it. But I would draw basically a timeline. How we're here, you want us to get these goals by the end of 12 months, and then you start breaking them down. All right, so you want to make, let's say, $250,000 in revenue this year in 12 months. All right, let's go backwards from that revenue goal at 9 months. What does that look like? Or at 6 months, and then you can chop it into 3-month kind of breakouts.
Yeah, or even monthly.
Eventually, yeah. Eventually, you're going to do that. And so what is that? What is that like management wise? So you have to act as your own like manager essentially and going, all right, once a week, I should write out the goals of the week. And then once a month and look at every morning, look at the monthly goals and go, am I hitting this? Am I getting close? Because the thing about like your first year, your goal may be to get in the black, and that might be the best thing.
Yeah.
Right. And that might mean, what does that mean? That means maybe pay yourself what makes sense, know how much taxes are going to be cut out, because a lot of people fuck that up their first year.
Yeah. Keep a little to the side.
Right.
For sure.
How much do you need in cash flow when something like this happens?
Yeah.
And you lose, I know 20 agencies that are basically like, we're done, man. We no one can pay us. And we're so tight on cash flows, we're just going to get absorbed by someone else. And you're like, whoa. Yeah, because you're depending on the health of the other business. So another part when you're looking at your clients is mitigating risk. How risky is this client?
Yeah.
And if you get the vibe, if they're under 5 years old as a business, honestly, you should charge more because just a general rule of thumb is they're probably going to be riskier.
Yeah. Well, and harder to just create a whole marketing platform and all that. I mean, you
And
know, they're
they
going to
don't
have
have
something
systems,
in place.
right.
You know, they're going to have exactly systems that they got if they're 5 years old or older, you know. But man,
A line I would say is we're taking a risk on you like you take a risk on us. And so you can use that. Nope. I took it from someone
that's a
else.
freebie.
I know. Look, the stand-up lines, you got to be truly as original as you think you are. With business, you can fucking
Just
lift
copy
whatever. I
everybody.
mean, business is basically being a hack comic and just going, ooh, that person said this or is doing this. I'm going to do that too.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm glad you're writing notes. Evernote and writing down shit all the time helps. But I would say that's going to be your biggest thing. Go, what are your goals for 12 months? And then really break down how you're going to get there. Don't sit there and do it in one session. I think we talked about this off air, but you know, creative problem solving. You know, I told you I like to write. All right, I need to think of a brand name for this, or I need to think of a campaign for this. I'll write it down and then I'll go for a run or something, or I'll go, you know, I'll write it in the morning and then throughout the day, it'll that's my creative process. I found that through a lot of trial and error, but I find that when people get really stressed out about planning and strategy, just start with what do you want to do 12-month goals and then just have it on the wall somewhere and just come back to it periodically.
Yeah. Just do that one sentence.
Yeah.
You started it. The starting is the hardest part.
Right.
You just put it off, and you never do it. But
Yep.
if you just get one sentence down or whatever, you know, just get it going.
And
Just
look,
let your body take over.
I'm happy to dispense any of this advice because I'm the ghost of Christmas future. So I think one of the things I told you was, you know, you have to take care of yourself first because that's where I really fucked up. And so if you're not as the owner, you basically, you're going to bring people in eventually, you know, you have to be like, kind of like, you can't call me out on anything, right? Like,
I don't understand.
like you have to, well, we've always talked about this. You have to take care of yourself before you can do anything for anybody else, right?
Yeah. Who's calling you out? In this
Like if you
scenario?
start hiring people,
Oh.
clients will too.
Oh, I didn't understand.
'Cause
Okay.
if they-
I thought you were talking
you
to
know,
yourself.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like one thing I always thought it was selfish to do you first and then help everybody else out. And you really can't help anybody else out or do the services you want to do at a high level unless you're really doing a lot of self-care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
For sure.
Eric's better at this and has a bigger breadth of knowledge in that department. I'd say, you know,
Taking care of myself.
well, no, like challenge, like you challenge yourself to do, you know,
Sure.
like the ice bath shit
Yeah.
or Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
I still forget. I still like remember every now and again that you got rid of your allergies because you figured that you shocked your body enough with the Wim Hof stuff that that's like fucking crazy.
I know. And I feel crazy telling people that, but I'm like, I don't, you know, like just this past spring, people are snotting and sneezing all over the place. I'm like, hey, if you want me to teach you this, I can teach you, but you know, you got to do it but it's exercise. It's like, you know, getting up and lifting weights is the same thing. You got to do it.
Yep.
Takes 10, 15 minutes, but changed my life.
So
you know?
your hardest part is going to be that self-discipline because you know the service side. Like at this point, you know that part, right? That part's not hard. It's really like sticking to what you need to do and be super regimented, disciplined. And so like I've spent this time like reorganizing, you know, what I can do on a daily basis, and where it's like I got to get back to getting up early. You spend, I think Eric and I have talked about it a lot on the show, but he gets up at 4:30. I got to figure out what that time is for me, but
You were up early today, huh?
yeah. Well, I'm trying to go at the 4:30, but
4. I get up at 4. I'm just saying.
I get up at
Well,
4:34
credit.
out of respect to Bo Jackson and Charles Barkley and Frank Thomas, War Eagle. But
Say Wade.
what? But
Charles Barkley.
yeah, I was thinking about this. I think our dream guest. No offense, JK, but dream guest has to be Charles Barkley.
Oh yeah.
I think if anybody out there,
terrible. Yeah.
and see if we can get him when he's like gambling and drunk.
Yeah.
Whew, that'd be great.
Get him to owe us money.
Yeah. But I would say the hardest part of what you're doing in this first year is really getting to know you in and out. And I know it sounds really overwhelming right now, the way we're kind of positioning this. But I tell you, you're in a good you have this opportunity right now with this COVID thing.
Yeah.
Where you can sit there and work on yourself. I've been looking at like forced rehab instead of house arrest and going, okay, I've been wanting to work on getting on a better schedule for myself for a while. I'll go 3 weeks and then a week will blow it up and then I can't get back on it. And I'll go up and down like that. And that's kind of how it's been for the last year. So I'm like, okay, this is a really good opportunity right now to work on those things that look super boring. This is not sexy at all, but just working on it the last like 3 weeks diligently has already like opened up a lot more time and opportunity.
Yeah. And in that vein, just the number of random like governmental admin things that you have to do, get those down, learn everything you need to do and figure out your processes for that, because it's like that stuff will get away from you so fast. Like, just if you get a good accountant, get all these professionals lined up, just because you don't want to be 3 years in and realize, oh, I wasn't paying my business license, whatever. And then they're going to fine you $75,000 or something crazy, especially right now while everybody's on lockdown. It's like, just get all that stuff checked off. I mean, another thing, I have like list apps where it's like habits. It's like, make sure I pay the sales tax once a month. It pops up. It's like, boom, there's okay.
Do your personal budget every Tuesday night.
Sure.
It's
all that
night.
stuff, But I mean, it's the self-care idea where it's like, administrative self-care.
And if you really want to, like, I have to trick myself into getting fired up about it. So if you really want to try to do that, the way I kind of do it is I'm figuring out this puzzle. And when I figure it out, it'll be fun to be able to show people in a way. Like, you may not do that even if you do figure out like a good system that works for you, where you're one of my biggest things is I can't fall asleep, just like when I need to. Mm-hmm. But then you go, all right, so you really need to self-analyze at the end of the day too. That was another thing that I wasn't doing. The unanalyzed life isn't worth living. Mm. I forget if that's Socrates or a Catholic platitude, but Kanye, Tekashi 6ix9ine, one of those, brilliant people out there. But it's one of those things where I wasn't assessing at the end of the day what I was doing. I used to do that a lot. And then that kind of went away when I got really stressed out. And it's almost like you have to put that in the schedule. Okay, when I walk the dog for 15 minutes, when I go walk it, I'm not going to bring my phone and I'm just going to go, what did I do today? Did I get what I wanted to get done? Why didn't I? If I didn't.
Yeah.
My
goal is to get to the Bill Gates thing where he's got like 5-minute increments planned out for the next 14 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like he just breaks it down 5-minute increments. Boom. Doing this.
There's a schedule everything kind of philosophy like that, which I'm a fan of. You can make it convoluted, which was where I was with mine, where I have 7 calendars.
Yeah.
Because I want a color-coded system, because I look at everything like, could I look at this, the drunkest I've ever been, could I read my calendar and understand what I need to do? Because that's kind of, I want my default to be
drunk contingencies.
Well, I'm just making a joke as in like,
and I want it, I'm drunk.
I want it to be at my dumbest level, at my most sleep deprived. Can I look at this and go, like that's why we have color coded like subway system, right?
Sure.
When you're in New York, they make it as easy as possible for lowest common denominator stuff. So think of yourself as, you're not going to be one to always be so detailed, but think of your own systems, even design wise like that. How do you tick? What makes you work? And, we can have you back on in a month and let's see how that goes.
Ooh, follow up.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's the other thing. After every you want a second date. So after every meeting you have,
Leave your phone.
No, well, leave your sweater behind at the frat house.
Yeah.
So and the scrunchie.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. You don't want to get it in your hair. But
My scrunchie.
yeah, I forgot something over here.
Oh, you're still here. Oh,
You
my
guys are
God.
partying
What
again?
Are you gonna get lunch?
Oh, I left my shoes in the parking lot.
One of them.
So, what's it called? The good thing is we have this captured. You can re-look at this video too.
If you could watch it again like 10,000 times, that'd be great for us.
Yeah.
too.
Pants on though.
Well, I don't care.
Well, yeah, that's fine. You're a little bit more open about that.
Yes.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on. We'll have you on in a month, and yeah, we'll put your link in the show description, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, brother.
What about my sweat equity? Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity. My sweat equity. Sweat equity. What about my sweat equity?